Let's go, DEKA FIT!
Welcome to the OCR Report's presentation of the 2023 DEKA FIT Elite Series. We are getting set for race number 5, coming to you from Concord, North Carolina. I am Xander Keene, joined by Luke Halterman. We have Jason Dupree behind the scenes and our wonderful team of rabbits on the ground who will see some great action from momentarily. And Luke, we're at about the midway point of the season. A lot of these athletes have already put times on the board, but there's still plenty of time to tune up and try and qualify for World Championships. So we should be set for some exciting action on both the men's and women's sides today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting down into crunch time, like you mentioned. World Championships is now coming around the corner. High Rocks World Championships is behind us. Now it is full on DEKA. This is when athletes are going to shine, more importantly, on the DEKA, in the DEKA arena. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these athletes can bring today with only 3 races left in the series.
Yeah, we've had a couple of recent races out in California. Definitely more of an East Coast, Southeast flair to the start list today. So that could be interesting. You know, you don't have as many of the recent race winners in the field. So it's an opportunity for some of these athletes that may have been, you know, kind of in the middle of the pack at whether it was World Championships last year or an earlier race in the series to maybe try and take it out hot and put down a time. You know, you mentioned this is an interesting point in the year. High Rocks World Championships was a couple of weeks ago. Some athletes are still coming down from that. Others, you know, are coming over from, you know, an obstacle course racing schedule. And this is an opportunity to try their hand at DEKA with still plenty of time later on in the season because, you know, there's 2 more races, one in late August, one in mid-September, with, of course, World Championships coming up in December. So that in that way, it sort of plays out with enough time for a solid training block in between events. But today is just a great opportunity to throw down, you know, in the Southeast. And yeah, it should be exciting. We've got, you know, some of the top times, obviously on the women's side, Tara Jackson comes in with the second fastest time this season. On the men's side, you've got kind of a pack of athletes, all with similar PRs, but then, you know, sort of a wild card is Marcus Wallace, who we expect to start coming in with a 61-minute High Rocks time, hasn't really tried a DEKA yet. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how someone like that fares in, you know, a shorter, sharper, faster race.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, so what's great about, of course, having this race on such a grand scale across the country is that you have West Coast athletes, you have East Coast athletes. And now this is time for the East Coast athletes to really shine, given that most West Coast athletes are probably not in the field today. So this will be a great opportunity for such as, like you mentioned, Marcus Wallace. We got Luke Hayes. We have Joe Kilmore. We have Colin Stifer coming out from Knoxville. Let me write out a couple more names as well, too. Carl Fallish, Daniel King. Adam Halls is another name we should be on the lookout for. Joshua Gonzalez also. And then as for the women, of course, we have, you know, like you mentioned, Tara Jackson, Michelle Navarro. Lori Winkleman is going to be a name that I'm going to be looking forward to discussing. Bridget Brown also, she's on the list as well. Bridget Brown should give Tara Jackson a good run for her money today. And then Karen Guitry, Shannon Hunkin as well. So and Janelle Teal. We got a lot of people representing the great state of North Carolina having home field advantage today.
Yeah, the DEKA FIT schedule, like we talked about, it's nice and spread out where, you know, there's races all across the country sort of periodically back and forth and, you know, not as much travel necessarily required. And yeah, great chance for some of these other athletes who maybe haven't raced a lot of the earlier races that were in Texas or in California to throw down here today. Do you want to see more DEKA and OCR races live streamed this year? Support the sport to become an OCR Report member today for less than $5 a month. You can help us live stream races like this every single week. Find a link in our YouTube show notes and more information on our Instagram page at the OCR Report. Become a member today. So we're now getting a look inside the DEKA arena as we'll take a look at the course map, I believe, here momentarily. But you see some athletes getting loose, whether it's those in the elite field. Now we've got a look at the Carolina DEKA map again. Generally speaking, a standardized course with, the run taking place sort of on the outside of all the stations. But Luke, when you look at this, does anything jump out as far as opportunities to to kind of push the pace more than normal, or do you expect this to be kind of a normal flow where maybe someone takes it out hot and the assault bike really makes a difference?
Yeah, we've seen enough DEKA races now where we kind of know that after about zone 3 on the box overs and med ball setups, that's usually when the contenders usually push away. As far as how long they hold on, well, obviously always go to zone 7, the assault bike, and that's what really separates the first and second place winners usually for the most cases. So when I look at the map, DEKA does a really good job standardizing throughout every single race that they do. There's a couple maybe slight veers here and there. If you look on the map on the right side, it doesn't look like it's going to be a straight shot. I don't know if those corners obviously make a difference or not. Usually they don't. They won't affect most of the runners. But, we don't have Lauren Weeks out here. We don't have a Nicole Miracle. We don't have a Rylan Shadeg who likes to take it out hot. So as far as these racers, Tara Jackson and Bridget and then Colin Steifer and whoever like to keep up with Colin, it'd be exciting to see. I don't really see much as this. In other words, this is probably going to be a closer race than we expect for both men and women.
Yeah, in terms of performances this season, there's essentially one athlete right now with a top 10 time, or two athletes with a top 10 time on the women's side, and then one on the men's side. And yeah, to your point, in other races this season, we've seen a VJ Jones take it out hot. We've seen Rylan Shattuck push the pace from the beginning. Same thing with Lauren Weeks, someone with the running capability of Nicole Miracle taking it out hard to try and stay with the top as well. But yeah, this is more of an opportunity for maybe a closer race, even though there are a few athletes we expect to be up front. This may be a chance for someone, again, who knew maybe they couldn't hang with those world championship caliber athletes in previous races to just see what they can do, right? Get after it and see how long you can hang on.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is their time to shine right now. So this is going to be exciting. I don't see 30 minutes being broken today. I don't see, I believe, 32 minutes on the women's side, possibly. I don't really see any of those records, I guess you could say, being thrown down today. However, I do see a group of contenders sticking with each other. I'm going to say it comes down to the burpees today. I really am. I think it's going to come down to the burpees, both on the men and women's side for first and second place. So this will be the time that they have to push through to dig deep. I don't think they can take the foot off the throttle at any given time during this race, which will make it exciting for us audience members and commentators, of course.
For those of you new to DEKA FIT, we'll give you a quick rundown of the event format. So this is a combination of running and then essentially workout stations. So 5,000 meters of running in total, split up with 10 500-meter runs, each run followed by a station. So you start with a 500-meter run and then the weighted reverse lunges. Next up is a row, then box step overs, 20 reps, 20-rep med ball sit-up, then a ski erg, farmer's carry, and then the air bike, which is often the game changer late in the race there, station number 7, with the dead ball wall overs. The tank push and pull is station 9, and then, of course, the ram burpees to finish. And, Luke, you mentioned those burpees. I think in recent races we've seen the burpees kind of make the difference in that 3 to 6 range in terms of the field, where we've had, some competitors out front in that 1, 2, and maybe even, all 3 podium spots opening up gaps, but then a lot to play for with those burpees. So in a race like today, maybe with a bit less of a spread between, the top athlete and say, number 5 or 6, you mentioned you expect maybe the burpees to decide more of the podium rather than the middle of the pack.
I do. It's a rare sight at most races to see first and second be separated by such few burpees. Maybe one is finishing the burpee pit while the other is now coming in, or maybe just a couple of reps in. Usually that means, first has gotten it in the bag. But I honestly do believe it's going to come down to the few burpees in this race just because the times are so similar. Now we do have a few wild cards, such as Marcus Wallace. You never know what they may bring, or you just never know people's fitness coming into this race. Someone, of course, may have a slower time previously, but now they have much they're in peak form, I guess you could say right now, to get their one last shot to qualify for Worlds. So you just never know, but I do honestly believe it's going to come down to burpees this time instead of the bike so much.
Yeah, looking at sort of the top 10 right now in the 2023 season, at least on the women's side, Tara Jackson, the second fastest time with a 34.04, just about 15 seconds behind Lauren Weeks so far this season. Of course, her PR is faster. And then Lori Winkleman right now at number 8 with a 36.40. But then you have an athlete like Bridget Brown who hasn't necessarily put up a time this year, but has a 33.43 to her name and some solid performances at DEKA Mile and DEKA Strong as well. So plenty of depth at the top. And then on the men's side, again, Colin Steifer comes in, I believe, with the fastest time this season at a 31.55. But, translating High Rock's performance over to the DEKA Arena, Marcus Wallace is about 2 minutes faster, in a High Rocks so far. But that doesn't necessarily mean, you would expect that similar of a gap just because, the running is shorter, the stations are a little bit less compromising. It's just a faster event in general. So interesting to see, as this hybrid space grows more and more, how, specialization and the difference between race types really comes into play.
Absolutely. Yeah, usually general fitness takes over in most cases for the most part. But as far as, like you mentioned, the races are just so different. And High Rocks, you have the heavier aspects to it, which Marcus Wallace could thrive in. However, it is slightly lighter here, so you'll have the faster racers have the better opportunity of maybe sticking with Marcus, in other words. So I'll be interested to see how he performs. I think he's going to do really well. As far as a top 3 contenders, who do you have in this race for the men's field?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I think you have to put Colin in there for sure, just, given he's got the fastest time in the field this season and obviously relatively, not a lot of travel for him coming over from the Nashville area. I think Marcus Wallace will sneak on there. Just again, that High Rocks pedigree, he's fit, he should be ready to go. And then I don't know, like someone like a Joshua Gonzalez, maybe to mix it up. He's in that 14 spot right now this season, and this is an opportunity for an athlete like that to maybe jump up a few spots and put himself, a little bit more comfortably in that top 20.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though Marcus Wallace might be the favorite coming in, that's an opinion based, of course. I have Colin winning this today just based off experience. You never want to outweigh experience. Experience will always outweigh everything else. It will take over. So I got Colin Steifer in first. I'm going to say Joshua Gonzalez second. Again, based off experience, I'm going to say Marcus Wallace for third. But don't count out, like I mentioned, Adam Halls and Joe Kilmore. I think those two are going to be battling out for the second to third spot as well. So it'll be interesting to see, of course, that second and third place, I think, is a throw up, honestly, on the coin toss. So.
And there's plenty of other wild cards as well. I know at a race earlier this year, we saw Kurt Maggot take it out really hot, and he ended up fading, in the second half of the race. But it's a type of situation where someone like that, you kind of take your lumps early on, fix some things in training, and maybe approach the race slightly differently, or just, be able to sustain longer. Someone like that could potentially throw down as well. So we're just a few minutes away from the start of today's men's race as they start to call the elite athletes up. Always a nice feature of DEKA Fit with kind of these introductions getting us set to go here.
Yeah, you never want to count out a pro athlete, Kurt. So, he made it to the NFL for a reason. So he very well could just make a name for himself again today in the DEKA Arena.
And fifth is the 2023 DEKA Fit Austin.
Okay. We get mixed up on Instagram all the time. There's Joe Kilmore.
And currently with a 14.5K and a 425 miles, that makes the noise for Daniel King.
Wow, those are some fast times. Wow, Daniel King. Watch out
Yeah,
for
if you
him.
could hear that in the background, a 14:59 5K time for Daniel King,
That's
which,
flying.
in the OCR hybrid space, that's absolutely flying. So there's someone who we didn't necessarily mention coming in, but, if he uses that run capacity early on to try and hold the field open, that could definitely change some things.
Absolutely. Yeah, he might be a contender who just takes it out hot from the gate that we never really discussed. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs.
DEKA World Champs 529. Let's welcome Joshua Gonzalez.
And here's Joshua Gonzalez, a guy again coming in, I believe, number 14 so far this season. Yeah, 14 with a 32:35, so potentially looking to chop some time off there and jump up a few spots in the standings.
Absolutely. Very experienced in this DEKA. So is Colin as well, too. Very versed in the movements and the standards. So he's going to perform well today for sure. Oh.
So they called up Marcus Wallace, but
No
he may not be here. So
wow.
that
Okay.
definitely changes the complexion of this race. Again, we mentioned
really
him
does.
as someone without a DEKA Fit time, but an outstanding High Rocks performance. But if he's not in the field, then that's potentially a top 5 or podium spot up for grabs here.
Wow. Yeah, that does change up things a bit. Wow. Yeah, that really does. I'm looking forward to who steps up then for that third podium spot. So this will be fun to watch. This looks like a very good field that's going to be grouped together throughout the whole thing.
So we're just about set to go here. Again, these athletes will have a very fast 500-meter run. If recent history is any indication, we'll have some people trying to take this thing out and open up a gap early and then straight into the walking lunches. So here we go. We are officially underway in race 5 of the 2023 DEKA Fit Elite Series.
Oh, there he is, taking it out hot. I like it.
And we mentioned the 14:59 5K. Daniel King just throwing it down immediately. And we'll see, clearly that's an intentional strategy, and we'll see how it plays out.
So Daniel King, I don't think has any races under his belt as far as DEKA or High Rocks to be related. And so this has to be a strategy as far as if I maybe can't outperform them on the functional fitness standpoint, I can most certainly outrun anybody in this field. And that's exactly what he's going to be here to prove. So it'll be interesting to see how his compromised running is because, of course, the first 3 stations are all designed to smoke your legs. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs then.
And a much tighter grouping there, kind of in the middle of the pack. You saw Joshua Gonzalez, Colin Steifer, Kurt Maggot, sort of all within, a second or two of each other. But right now, Daniel King is trying to make this a one-man show, at least early on, as he'll get set to come into the reverse lunges here.
Yeah, his running form is great. I mean, I'm sure he's not even breathing hard. I'm sure his heart rate is nice and low. He has done this before. What's a 500 meter to a sub 15 or 5K, right?
Especially when presumably, he's not running anywhere close to as fast as he could run 500 meters. But definitely, as soon as you start to get compromised, everything can change.
Absolutely. Yep. This will be exciting to see. Oh, here we go. I think this is where
athletes here.
I think this is where Colin kind of takes over. I think just from an experience standpoint, you're going to have Daniel take it out hot. He's probably going to lead this next lap as well too after the reverse lunges. But this is when Colin and Joshua and Joe Kilmore and all of them are also going to step up into this and catch up to him.
So it seems like we may be having some video issues from the arena. So hopefully we'll be back out there momentarily. But yeah, again, you can see the clock ticking in the top of our screen. And so, as this race goes, you mentioned the lunges are one thing, and, having done a DEKA mile, like regardless of whether you do those lunges, as fast as possible, a little bit slower, like your legs feel different coming out of them compared to going in. So, for someone who, presumably in training, he's, done similar workouts or just at least mentally maybe knows what to expect, but that 500 meter fresh running, then translating to 500 meters after doing some lunges, is definitely a game changer for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, 55 pounds, as to most of us, of course, is not heavy, but doing it 30 times and doing it 30 times anaerobically, that's a little bit different, of course. So I'm sure that lactic acid is built up nice and fast. And it looks like Daniel King, I would presume him first still, as expected. Yep. And then there's the field right behind him.
Yep. So Daniel King. So you see Daniel King, Colin Stifer, and Joe Kilmer right now, your top three, and a 7-second gap or a 5-second gap coming out of the lunges. But you can see on those splits about 10 seconds slower than the other competitors. And so that is going to be, I think, the back and forth of this race today is, Daniel King's got the running capacity, but if he's losing that much time on the stations already, it'll be interesting to see how that progresses, as this race continues.
Absolutely. There's another athlete a couple years back, actually, when DEKA first started off, Lauren Stroud, if you remember. She was the fastest female out of anybody out of the female field by far when it comes to straight 5K. At first, she kind of learned a little bit on the functional standpoint. Then I think once the female athletes really started ringing in and got used to the compromised running of functional fitness, it caught up to her. And she wasn't able to outshine as much as she wanted to with the 5K running. So this will, again, be interesting with Daniel's perspective. It's very obvious he is the fastest man on the field, but it'll be interesting to see how he is on these machines. Of course, on the box overs, med ball setups, techniques will play a factor as well. I don't believe he can just out-cardio everything. Yeah.
So you see Joe Kilmer coming in a couple of seconds later, and Colin Stifer is on the other end. So it'll be interesting to see, how those top three play out as we come out of the station. But it did seem like, Joe has started to make up the gap, at least compared to where they were coming into the lunges. And right now we don't have a look on the pace that they're rowing, but this will tell a lot because, it's an aerobic movement, but it's different. It's not just running, and you're already a little bit compromised about 5 minutes into this race.
Absolutely. You can kind of see based off the form a little bit that, Daniel's not relatively compared to Joe's form, I guess you could say. I mean, look at the forms. Joe seems nice, calm, and collected. Daniel seems like it's kind of forced a little bit. So you could tell that he's just kind of introducing himself to this sport. I'm sure he's rowing probably a 2, a little bit under, maybe slightly above. But Joe right now looks like he might be rowing a comfortable 145, 150.
And rowing is when you're a little bit of a taller athlete with good technique. That can definitely be an advantage for you, and you see that disparity there. Daniel's a little bit slighter of frame, and so they're still probably a little bit over halfway through this row, but basically we have the entire field on the station at once, which you would expect to see, and it looks like Colin is going to be the first out.
Wow.
So
great. Yeah, there's the experience kicking in for sure. So Colin, obviously a very strong rower and very strong compromise runner too. So there we go.
Daniel and Joe, it looks like, out in second and third, essentially with each other. We'll get a look at those splits here momentarily once that timing gets processed. But 6 minutes in, really the first big move of the race is made with Colin Stifer, with a significant gap coming out of this station.
Yeah, that was a great power move from Colin. I wonder if he maybe pushed it a little harder on the rower than he typically does, for the sole purpose of knowing he now wants Daniel to chase him opposed to trying to chase the fast 5K, of course. Which would be a smart strategy on his part.
Yeah, several seconds now, the gap. Remember, this is about a 2-lap race. So you come around every zone, then you loop around again and come into the next station. So Colin seems comfortable, has that experience. He's done this before. Sort of not sure, how much he knew about an athlete like Daniel King's running capacity, but clearly, with this level of experience, he's got a race plan. And he wasn't necessarily going to let, one person's fast 500 impact what he was going to do.
100%. Yeah, someone so experienced, you never want to take it out super hot just because someone else does. In some cases, yes, but when someone that is a name that you're not too familiar with, maybe into the sport, you never want to just go out with them just because you never know what they're you never know, of course, when they may blow up. And, of course, you may blow up your own strategy in the process.
So now the box step overs, and this should be pretty smooth for Colin, as you see Joe and Daniel pretty much holding pace with each other, coming in a couple of seconds apart. Have you run a DEKA yet? Check out DEKA.fit for a local DEKA event near you. There are hundreds to choose from. That is DEKA.fit.
Looking nice and smooth. Here comes the rest of the pack.
And as we expect, Colin is out first.
This is really a zone that really no power moves are made. You know, one can kind of go slightly slower than the other just by minor seconds, but nothing as big as like the rower was or that next run following the rower.
And you see that right there. Colin 10 seconds faster essentially than the field. Now, Kurt Maggot a little bit farther down did row 151, but 147 compared to 2 flat and 208 for the other two athletes in podium positions right now. That just shows you kind of the difference, you know, with an athlete of both the capacity and experience that Colin has. And now Daniel's starting to drop back a bit, not nearly as efficient on those box step overs, you know, over a minute compared to basically the rest of the field with times in the 30s. So that's the kind of thing that's a learning experience, because the first time you do an event like this, you know, you don't know exactly how it's going to feel in a race environment.
Absolutely. And it looks like Joseph Cotto is making some moves up as well, too. So, you know, we can't count him out as well. I believe this is his first DEKA Fit. So, but it looks like he's looking very comfortable. It looks like he's strong on the stations as well. So it looks like he's going to be a possible podium contender today.
Yeah, Joseph Cotto, at least with our notes here, doesn't have a DEKA Fit or DEKA Mile time on the board. So a 14:37 DEKA Strong at some point, but clearly, you know, the capacity to hang with athletes on paper with, you know, stronger performances. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, right now we've got Colin kind of opening up a bit of a gap, but with Joe Kilmer, Joseph Cotto, Joshua Gonzalez, and maybe some other athletes as well, a lot to play for here in the last 2/3 of this race.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe this is when, you know, Colin right now, he's already separated himself by good. Oh, no, there's Joe right there. Never mind. Joe's making this a race today. And there's Joseph, I believe, right there to the left.
Yeah, so Joe and Joseph coming in right behind Colin. So right now we've got this pack of 3 all within a few seconds of each other.
Well, I take my words back. I swallow my own words on that. So so it looks like they must be making some gain on the runs, it appears, you know, because that's the one thing we're not slightly seeing. So it looks like maybe Joe and Joseph are feeding off each other as far as the intervals are concerned. And here comes Joshua. So Colin's going to have to push it really on the functional part.
And Daniel hanging in there, coming in 5th. And Luke, this is something we talked about, you know, in the open to this race, where compared to some of the other events this season where you've had, you know, one athlete kind of break away from the field by this point in the race, now it seems like the very top of this race, you know, the top few positions are all up for grabs. We've got 3 athletes coming out of Station 4 within just a few seconds of each other, already had one significant lead change, and something tells me that may not be the last one, you know, depending on you know, what Colin has compared to some of these other athletes as we keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be fun. It's going to come down to the wire, as I predicted, unless the bike really separates everyone. But Joshua Gonzalez, you got to watch out for him, because I know how powerful he can be. I see him in Austin personally. When he gets on that bike, he's going to hammer that thing. So if he's even remotely close within about 15, 20 seconds and the top 3 were to back off the intensity, Joshua can push himself ahead as well, too, for that podium spot.
So leaving this station, it was a 5-second lead for Colin, but a total of 16 seconds separating the top 4 athletes. And with the assault bike still to come, with some other stations as well, and, you know, essentially more than half of the race left, that's a pretty close gap for 4 athletes, you know, to be able to feed off each other and try and make moves as we keep progressing here. Absolutely.
So actually, you can see in the corner too, Daniel King's med ball setup time, well over a minute. You could definitely tell fatigue has probably kicked in. And honestly, I was going to make a note, when he was running in, you could just kind of see the fatigue in his legs. You know, being a fast 5K or maybe not as strong as the rest of the field, not used to the compromise, it's obviously wearing on him. But, this is going to be a name we need to look out for the future, because anybody who's fast can translate into strength. And so this will be interesting to see if this is his first race, the experience he's going to gain from this. He's going to come back. He'll be a contender in the future.
Looks like Colin, Joe, and Joseph pretty much held serve on that last run, coming into the ski erg one after another, about the same amount of time, as they left the previous station. But we saw Colin make up a ton of time on the field on the row. And so, again, a similar, different movement, but similar approach with a non-running, aerobic capacity station. We'll see if his row performance translates to the ski erg here, if he can put another gap in, or if one of these other two athletes looked like a 154 being rode there by Joe Kilmer compared to a little bit over 2 for Joseph. And now Joshua Gonzalez in as well.
Yeah, Joshua is strong on the machines. I wonder if Colin's going to pull what I like to call a Caleb Yates, where you get on one of those concept 2s and you just pretty much sell your soul to the devil, give it everything you got, and just hope that you recover on the run, because it's so close. But I don't know if Colin really wants to make this a running game today. I don't know, as far as like a standard 5K, how much, Colin, Joe, or even Joseph Cotto's 5K splits are. I don't know how similar they are. So it seems like Colin doesn't want to make this a running game. So he's going to really try to crush these stations just to push ahead. This is fun, though. We got ourselves a race. This is going to be exciting. Normally, we don't see the top 3 right here on the ski erg together, and this close, too.
Yeah, in past races, we've been talking about, how much is VJ Jones or Rylan Shattuck going to win by. And now, again, with just a different complexion of this field and some athletes that are, in World Championship qualification position going toe-to-toe. And there it is. Colin has clearly opened up more of a gap coming out of the ski erg, as right now it looks like Joe Kilmer's finishing up. Joseph Cotto still trying to power through those last meters. So, again, for the second time on a machine, Colin has made a big move. First, it was going from second to first, and now it's extending that lead that he already had.
Yeah, he has about a 15-second lead over Joe. Joe is clearly a very strong runner, so I think he's going to make up some room as well, too. And they're going to come into these farmer carries very close to each other.
Yeah, I think this is still close enough that the bike is really going to change the game. Obviously, Colin, someone with should have the capacity to throw down a pretty fast time on that. But, anything, you just never know what's going to happen on the assault bike. So when you're looking at 15, 20 seconds, that, depending on how things go for each athlete, could definitely be made up, or the gap could grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, Colin is definitely a very a power-based athlete. In fact, he won High Rocks World Championships double with his partner Taylor. I mean, so he's other than maybe Curtis, probably the strongest man just from pound to pound in the field. So he's going to power that assault bike as well. The farmer carries is going to be nothing to him. I don't think any time is going to be made up on the farmer carries as well. Joe should be able to carry it just as fast as Colin as well. It's going to be that run into the assault bike. So that is when the race is going to get extra spicy.
He had a little drop that time.
And we looked like we just saw Colin passing Joshua Gonzalez. So that goes to show the space that he has opened up on this field, simply because, that was about a 15-second gap a couple of stations ago. And now Colin has definitely opened it up. And, yeah, he's going to pick up these 2 dumbbells and roll through this pretty quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. You can see there on the splits with the skier coming 12 seconds, 20 seconds faster than the other podium contenders. That is the type of gaps that he needs right now in these races to stay ahead.
And based on those timing, it's 12 seconds better than Joe in a 13-second lead. So they were essentially neck and neck, officially 1 second apart coming into the ski erg. And, that 12-second difference, and even more looking a little bit farther down.
Oh, it looks like Joseph made
Joseph
a move into second.
Moved,
all right.
Moved up into second, exactly.
This is exciting to see new faces, the sport. That's what's great about this sport. 1 year you can have, the same old 5, 7 people that we always talk about. And then you have the new faces such as Joseph coming in here. Like you mentioned, his DEKA Strong is nothing as far as pro exciting. But I mean, the fact that he's contending right now in front of Joe Kilmore, who's very experienced in DEKA, this is exciting stuff. This is a big move for him today.
Yeah, Joe Kilmer comes in with a 33:01 DEKA Fit time, and Joseph Cotto without one, on the record at this point. But he's moved into second and came out of this station a couple of seconds ahead. And you see it even there, 10 seconds faster on the farmer's carry. So Joseph, the same time as Colin, and then Joe Kilmer down to 48 seconds. So Joshua Gonzalez, unfortunately, kind of in no man's land right now in fourth. But as we've seen. You mentioned him coming up and hammering the bike, and if one of these other guys cracks, then a podium spot could still be up for grabs.
Yeah, the no man's land, it's tough. It's tough because you don't really have anyone breathing down your neck. You don't have anyone really to catch up, obviously, other than the top three. But they're not right in front of you, so you find yourself in this idle position as far as being comfortable opposed to pushing it a little bit harder. Unless, of course, experience, like I've mentioned multiple times today, that can take over knowing he needs to push harder in this one and then hammering that bike. Got a good look at Bubbles over there, Kevin Gregory.
Should be just a few seconds away from Colin coming into the assault bike. And yeah, here he comes in first.
There we go. Let's see what Colin can bring on this bike here. Let's see if he goes right around 1 minute. Sub-minute maybe.
And I wonder if Colin was saving something for the bike on that last run, because Joseph essentially caught up to him, kind of came out of nowhere to sit down on the bike just to his right.
Joseph was a good, 10 seconds maybe behind, 15 seconds after station 6. So Joseph is a very strong runner. Yeah,
I wonder if Colin's going to
have
surprised to see him in his peripheral vision. Yeah, so we have our top three on the assault bike all at the same time. 1 and 2 on the left and the middle came in a little bit ahead of Joe Kilmer in the darker blue shorts.
Yeah, one of two things are going to happen after Colin here with the assault bike. He's going to hammer it just a little bit faster maybe than he's used to push away from Joseph. That can either, one, compromise the remaining 3 stations or runs he has to perform, or 2, that pushes just enough to where Joseph pushes a little bit harder, and now Joseph is compromised. So, but I think experience is going to take over Colin right now, taken out. That's still in first place. But Joseph, man, his runs have been phenomenal.
Yeah, so Colin, no time wasted on that bike as he is out well ahead of everybody else. So yeah, it seemed like maybe he just dialed the throttle back a tiny bit on that run to make sure he was recovered enough to be ready to hammer this bike. Joseph will still come out in second, and now he sort of finds himself in the position that he was just in, trying to run down Colin and make up that time.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where Joe's going to fall after this. I don't, his farmer carries was 10 seconds slower. I don't know if maybe he's just starting to get generalized fatigue or if something's going on, of course, too, because the assault bike doesn't look like it's being pushed as hard as well. You can see Joshua there in the corner pushing pretty hard. But maybe he's saving some gas in the tank, of course.
And you can tell Joshua's getting down to those final few calories based on the look on his face. But Joe is out in third. Joshua's still on the bike trying to push. Again, a bit of a gap between that podium spot. He's maybe looking over his shoulder there to see where the rest of the field is. 1:03 on the bike for Colin. Yeah. 24 seconds faster than Joseph.
Impressive.
So that tells you right there. But we've seen multiple times so far in this race, Joseph use his running capacity to catch Colin. So there's still,
for sure,
3 more runs. Number 8 right now, 2 after that, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, you saw that when Joe Kilmore was coming out, Colin was finishing his first lap, and so now Colin can have that mentally in his head if he were to pass Joe, of course, to where that's the thing about the multiple lap system. It can be. 1, exciting, but 2, morally defeating, of course, when you have someone you're trying to catch pass you on their second lap. And then, of course, it just mentally messes with you to slow down as well, too. So, big power move for Colin if he were to pass Joe. Or anybody, for that matter.
So, Colin into the dead ball overs. Again, you've got to just get the ball over, and then walk around the structure. 20 reps.
Oh, wow.
This is
Look at
8.
Joseph catching up. Wow. That made the gap for sure, 24 seconds. This won't be a station that will make any power moves at all, of course. It'll be pretty consistent. I assume they'll be very similar in times. But, man, Joseph is killing it on these runs.
So far, that's how it's played out. Joseph a little bit faster on some of the runs. Colin, though, on some of the best stations has really, opened up a gap. And you talked about it in the open loop. Coming into the burpees, this may be where we see the race decided today. And can Joseph pull himself close enough to make it a race on those 20 burpees? We'll see. As now Joe comes in, still in third place, but right now well behind both Colin and Joseph.
Yeah, I think 1 or 2, unless something dramatically happens, I think 1 and 2 is pretty much in the bag. And I think Joe Kilmore, for the most part, has proclaimed third. However, you never know when the tank is well, as far as, fatigue definitely in the legs will kick in when you're on the pull aspect of the tank. So this is exciting. I'm super excited. Colin knows that Joseph's breathing down his neck, which is going to have him take over and get into the mental mindset that I'm here to win today.
Joseph even a little faster on the dead balls. Those 6 seconds, that's not nothing at this point in the race. So Colin's still with about a 14-second lead. But as we've seen Joseph pull a little bit of time back on the runs, if he can now make up some time on the stations, we'd expect Colin to be relatively fast on the tank push and pull. But this is still a race.
Yeah, this is exciting stuff. Now Colin can feed off Daniel a little bit if Daniel maybe has found some second wind in his legs. That's the thing about the multiple lap system. You can have probably the fastest person in the field who's struggling, but then let's just say you happen to be behind him further down the race, and then you could just feed off and wind aid it, So I'm sure Colin is feeding off Daniel right now to get that speed going.
Yeah, he probably remembers how hot Daniel took out. Yeah, how hot Daniel took out the first lap, and Colin's like, all right, well, if he's still moving well, if I can just hang with him and now even pass him as he is here, then I think mentally Colin's got to feel like he's in a good spot. And We'll see what that gap is. Again, it was 12 seconds coming out of the dead ball station.
Yeah, I don't doubt Colin's abilities whatsoever. The man has definitely proved himself in Hyrox and DEKA, just in hybrid racing. I truly believe it's going to come down to the burpees, but I think he's going to hold on to it. He looks comfortable, even though he knows Joseph's right down his neck.
And not a lot of wasted time. That's the experience in this format that Colin has. We saw that on the bike, although Joseph right behind him, we saw it again on the run. Joseph making up some time, and definitely less than 12 seconds coming into the station. What I was saying was, Colin, for the most part, has not had a lot of wasted time getting in and out of stations. And in a race as close as this, 2 seconds here or there, coming onto the bike or grabbing the straps for the tank push, that type of stuff makes a difference, as these two athletes will have a total of 5 down and back. And so Colin is on rep number 2 here. Yeah, Joseph's Colin, still very much keeping him in sight.
Absolutely. Colin knows, I would assume right now in this race, that he would assume Joseph is running these 500-meter intervals just slightly faster. You're going to see a very fast 500 meters out of Colin after this tank. That's for sure. He does not want to make this a racing game down to the finals. And I think he has the ability to out-burpee Joseph, but it looks like Joseph is very well versed in the functional fitness standpoint too. It doesn't look like he's new to this, in other words. He's doing really well.
Yeah, for someone without at least times on the board in this format, definitely paced himself well, knowing he has running ability, but wasn't necessarily concerned with leading or contending for the lead right away. We saw several athletes kind of in that pack in the first lap or two, and Joseph, over the course of the first 3 stations, worked himself up into the top 3 and now solidly in second place. So Colin's still maintaining a gap here, as again, you've got to get the tire to the red line, and then you can immediately start pushing back forward. So Colin has definitely opened up some distance on lap 4 here. but Joseph is still close enough to where if he can throw down something fast on that 500-meter run, they'll definitely be on burpees at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is Colin's time to shine right here, and he knows it. He's taking it out hot. I think this is going to be a very fast 500 meters. He's going to give it everything he's got on these burpees, and he's closing in on a PR. His personal time, or his best personal time right now is 31:55. He very well could beat that today.
So our race leader, Colin Stifer, on the last run. Joseph Cotto, who you see right there in the big picture, he's finished. So he's in that number 2 spot right now. Colin coming out at 27:49, and 16 seconds faster. So Joe came in about 5 or 6 seconds down. Colin left about 20 seconds ahead, 21 seconds to be exact.
Yeah, that's a big gap.
I know Joseph's been running well, but that's a lot of time to make up now. Just one more run, and then the burpees left to go.
Yeah, Joseph would have to pull a Olympic type speed, and of course in this sport we just don't have that type of thing. But man, great effort as far as the runs. But still, we still have the burpees. Yeah, I don't want to count anybody out for that matter. But I think Colin knows this, and he's going to give it everything he's got on this last bit because he can definitely rest when this race is over.
And once again, Colin kind of pacing himself off of Daniel King as he comes around on his last lap, heading into the burpees again. 20 Ram burpees with a 44-pound weight. This is the last run of the event. So all Colin has left are those 21 burpees. And you mentioned that PR. He's coming in here now 29:15. PR is 31:55. So plenty of time to get through those burpees once he gets around to it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a low 31, high 30. He's gonna set the mark and improve his time just to solidify himself more so in that World Championships for the pro men.
Number 7 right now coming in with that 31:55, and now he's got about 18 reps of the Ram burpees left to finish off this race, and the clock has yet to tick past 30 minutes.
Yeah, his burpees look smooth. Even if Joseph were to come in right now, Colin's way too diverse into this movement. He knows it. He's too strong. Well ran race today for Colin. He destroyed it. That was awesome. You could tell experience is what paid off for him. He made his moves early. He solidified it. He stayed ahead. This was a great race for him.
And it looks like he's got plenty left for these burpees. Really no breakdown in form that we can see, knowing that he's got, I think, less than 10 reps to go at this point. And
yeah, you can see Joseph doing his step backs a little bit, so the fatigue is there a bit.
Well, he's sold out enough to put himself solidly in second place. So phenomenal debut for Joseph Cotto as Colin Stifer finishes off this race. He's still got more than a minute to go until his PR, and there it is.
Nice.
Colin Stifer, his best time by more than a minute, about 30:45 coming in as he improves. Actually, yeah, it looks like he'll improve to, I believe, 5th place overall.
Wow, that's great.
The year's standings, as Anas Suri came in with a 30:53. So Colin definitely ahead of that. So a great performance by Colin Stifer, and now Joseph Cotto making his DEKA Fit debut, squeezing out these last few burpees to potentially put himself in the top 20 as well.
I was about to say, what is the 20th spot? Do we know that time-wise?
Right now it's 33:01, so he's comfortably in there with about a 31:30. Yeah, and that's actually faster than Colin's time was coming in. So not sure exactly. So 31:33. So that puts him, I believe, now in 7th.
Wow.
Or actually 8th. Yeah, 7th place, right behind Grady Jackson at 31:30. So a phenomenal debut for Joseph Cotto, who may not even necessarily need to race another event, even though there are 2 more opportunities to get himself in that World Championship. Obviously, there are some notable names not on the board yet this year, but an outstanding debut for Joseph Cotto, even though Colin pulled away at the end, and even on the burpees there, a 24-second difference. Just an outstanding effort as Joe Kilmer looks better than Joseph did slightly on the burpees, as he's, again, just like Joshua in 4th, in a bit of no man's land, but still working himself onto the podium here.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like looks like he has enough repetitions ahead of Joshua over here. But Joshua's going to move on these burpees as well, too. These are two guys that are very diverse in this movement. Nothing new to them, of course. And you can see Joseph Cotto's time as well, too. About a minute and a half. You could tell fatigue was there. He probably sold himself on that last 500 to give him one last shot at Colin for that first place. So, again, a name we didn't even mention at the beginning, and a name to definitely, put some respect on his name later in the races in the future. That's for sure. I'm excited to see him at World Championships.
And it looks like Joe has taken exactly 1 second off of his top time this year. Came in with a 33.01, runs 33 flat. And actually, that puts himself right now into 20th. So he was tied for 20th with James Muscard at 33.01. Now technically in 20th. I think he knows that
there you go.
with some other guys still to race, he's probably going to have to throw it on a faster time. But still a solid effort, even though those top two pulled away. As now Joshua Gonzalez and Justin Dorothy, it looks like finishing up. Joshua maybe not the time he was hoping for, but still able to stick relatively close to Joe. And so far, the second fastest burpee time there were the 1:14.
Yeah, I think Joshua ran slower than he's used to. Again, there's so many variables and factors that can play into something such as that. So we never know, of course, unless you're the athlete itself. So he ran just slightly slower than he needed to. So definitely not the race he was probably looking forward to, but he'll definitely bounce back. There's 2 more races left, and I believe he's from Florida. No, I'm sorry, he's from New York. Wow, completely different state. And I believe in August, there's up there in the Northeast. So he'll definitely have some home field advantage for the next DEKA race to bounce back.
Yeah, the next event in this series, August 26th, in the Northeast, and then actually Florida, the site of the last one in Orlando. So some opportunities left, and he's got a better time on the board as well, 32:35. So he came in 14th. He's still solidly in the top 20 for now. So there's an opportunity to go back to the lab a little bit and work on some things, as now the back half of this first wave are coming through. Want to remind you that for the best live race coverage, for sure, for the best live race coverage in the sport, please be sure to subscribe to the OCR Report on YouTube. The OCR Report is the official broadcast partner of DEKA. That is youtube.com/the OCR Report. Subscribe today. If you're watching us right now, then you're on the OCR Report's YouTube channel, so click that subscribe button. Don't miss any of the other action. Of course, we've got 2 more events in the DEKA FIT Race Series, some other hybrid racing and OCR events as well. It seems like practically every other weekend we've got something cooking here on the OCR Report.
Yeah, so there's Daniel King on the burpees right there. You could definitely tell he is DEKA done. The arena has beat him up just a bit. This is a good first race for him on that, though. You never know what to expect in your first race. You might feel confident in training. Things might go smoothly. But then Mike Tyson said it best. Everyone has a strategy until you get punched in the face, right? So this was a good learning lesson. But I guarantee, just based off his running, this is going to be a kid to look out for in the future. Just like VJ when he started at a young age in Spartan races. Now look at VJ, one of, if not the top name in the sport of the game. So this was going to be an exciting learning curve from him. He's going to learn from this, get stronger for it, and I'm looking forward to see what Daniel King, and such a great last name. How can you have the last name King? So he's going to be someone to look forward to.
Yeah, we don't know too much about sort of his training or his background other than a 14:59 5K, but you don't necessarily know exactly what it's going to feel like to try and use that speed compromised and go through all these stations. And clearly, like you were just saying, a learning experience. And sometimes it's good to take your lumps in the arena and know exactly what that feels like, where you got beat and what you need to work on, because clearly he's got the run capacity to set the tone. It's just a matter of putting it together on the stations and sustaining through the course of the race.
Very true.
So it looks like we're now just a few moments away from the start of our women's heat. So this should be exciting. Again, we've got Tara Jackson there on the left side of the window, second fastest time, possibly the favorite coming in, but plenty of other athletes in the field as well.
Bridget Brown is She's pregnant. All right. She's pulling a Lauren Weeks High Rock style. This would be exciting to see. You know, women pregnant can still run just as fast as most people. So she very well could be a podium contender today. I'm not sure how far along she is, of course. Obviously, she feels safe with the fact that she's competing, but you know, never count out someone so experienced such as Bridget Brown, even pregnant. So I'm sure she'll throw down a very impressive time.
Absolutely, yeah. Just moments away from the start of this women's heat. Again, Tara Jackson coming off High Rocks Worlds. Bridget Brown, you just mentioned. Some other athletes.
Well, maybe with that being said, as far as Bridget being pregnant, who you got top 3 for the females race?
Definitely think Tara Jackson at this point is probably the favorite. You know, we mentioned Lori Winkleman coming in. I think she, with a top 10 time, is someone that can maybe jump up onto the podium, and then maybe it's open. We'll see what Bridget, you know, can put together given the circumstances, or you know, with some of these other athletes as well.
That's Janelle Teal right there in the white. She was a big fan favorite in High Rocks a couple of weeks ago. There's Karen Guitry. She is a hometown favorite here. And there's Bridget Brown coming through. Belly and all. I love it. I love it. Representing from the moms out there. Well, that's Julie Best. Yep, Julie Best. I think Julie Best is going to make a podium spot today. I think she's going to be right there behind Lori Winkleman, and Tara Jackson, I believe, is going to take first today, given the circumstances with Bridget. Michelle Navarro is also a name to look out for. Of course, all white right there.
Yeah, you can hear the MC in the background talking about Julie Best and her performance at the Spartan 3K series. She's definitely someone who's, you know, competed in a different but similar time domain event and done well. And so we'll see. Obviously, yeah, Tara Jackson, you got Lori, Michelle, Julie, and who knows what Bridget Brown, you know, can pull off. Again, we've seen it with Lauren Weeks that not everyone can, you know, handle this situation in the exact same way, but she's going to give it what she's got, and we're about set to go here. So had a great men's race, and now we're just seconds away from the start of the women's heat.
Yeah, I do believe it's going to be the same scenario. I think other than Tara, I think Tara's going to run away with this as far as just if she's coming in with a plan, she's going to execute it. You know, she's a world championship caliber athlete. She's the DEKA World Champion, so you can never, ever count her out on performing well. And so other than that, I think second and third and fourth are all going to be grouped together. It's going to come down to the burpees. Prepare to see kind of how Karen performs as well in the purple pink shorts. She might be just slightly slower than Julie and Lori, but with home field advantage, she might have multiple people there cheering for her, and Michelle Navarro as well. So this will be a good little push for all the women.
On your left, Thank you.
Closer pack at the front to start things out. Tara Jackson clearly in front, but we've got some other competitors trying to hang with her here on this first run.
Yeah, it looks like Julie's going to try to keep
right
up.
behind Tara. Yep.
I need a sponsor. I need to be sponsored.
Don't we all?
I blow my heart out.
These ladies are feeding
Tara,
off Tara
Julie,
pretty well.
Karen, and Michelle, yeah. So they're feeding off Tara, and they're not going to let her run away with it, at least early on.
No, and this very well could backfire in most cases. You know, these women, though, they all have a DEKA Fit time. At least the three that are behind Tara at the moment with Karen, Julie, and Michelle. So they know what they're doing. But at the same time, if they're trying to compete, maybe trying to run their splits 5 minutes faster in DEKA Fit, I mean, that's a big gap. That's a big, huge chunk of time that they'll try to take off their time. Again, we don't know anybody's fitness coming in. They very well could be prepared for this situation, knowing Tara will take it out hot and try to stay behind her and feed off of her. then again, and that's another good way to get, of course, faster times and to solidify themselves top 20 into the World Championships.
Yeah, for context, this year so far, Tara Jackson, the number 2 time with a 34.04, and then Julie Best down at number 17 with a 37.59, and Michelle Navarro 20th with a 38.28. I don't see Karen on this list for this year, so her PR is from a previous season. But it seems like we've got an exciting race at the front because, you know, at least a few athletes are going to try and hang with Tara, and I think we've got a little bit of, again, some technical difficulties in the arena. So right about the same time we did in the men's race, interestingly enough. And here we go. So now they're on the lunges. You see, you know, the top 5 all in there together, but we'll start to get splits and get a sense as this progresses of how Tara is performing and how these athletes are able to hang with her, relatively speaking.
Yeah, as soon as we get the live feed back up, this will be good. You'll see women grouped together, yep, such as that. I would assume Tara is already out and about running, of course.
Looked like
There's
Karen
Janelle
and Michelle
Teal
together and Julie right behind. Although according to this, Michelle Navarro a second ahead, but it does look like Tara Jackson is in front.
Yeah, I believe Tara is out in front as well.
That timing should sort itself out here in just a few minutes, but several athletes all within 10 seconds of each other. And yeah, you see right there, Tara about 4 seconds ahead of Michelle, it seems like, at this point.
And there's Karen right behind Michelle. So this is a strong outing. But then again, you know, it's very early in the race still. You know, those first 3 stations usually is what separates the people for the most part. You know, it's hard to really separate yourself too much after station 1, you know, because it's very early in the race. So much more DEKA to go. Kudos to our camera guy and our rabbits, man. They're running their hearts out. Tara is very fast. I've ran with her in Knoxville, so trying to keep up with her on the rabbit.
And that's after essentially running, you know, 10 by 500 in the men's field as well. Saw
it's also
Dave,
true.
one of our rabbits, hanging with Colin to try and stick with him. And yeah, it's always a challenge, especially if you've got your own race later in the day, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a beating, but it's fun. It's totally worth it. Yeah, Tara's looking smooth. I mean,
Tara Jackson.
You know, I wonder if she's in peak fitness right now since High Rocks World Championships was just a few weeks ago. I know she just did High Rocks New York as well. I don't know if she was too happy with her times for the most part, but as far as peak fitness, you know, you try to definitely peak at World Championship time. So I wonder if she still kind of get that elements out as well. So it'll be interesting to see if she gets a PR today or not.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? With, you know, the High Rocks season kind of winding down, at least in terms of World Championships, and then now 2 months before the next DEKA race, you wonder if this is maybe kind of a last hurrah of whatever her peak was for World Championships, and then she can come back, kind of reset in training and get ready for DEKA Worlds later on in the year. But only a few second lead as we've got Michelle Navarro, Karen Guidry, Julie Best, all, you know, within striking distance, at least here in station number 2. And other athletes coming in as well. You see Bridget making her way into this station there. So there's Tara Jackson and Michelle Navarro, our 1-2 coming in right next to each other on the rower.
How motivating is it to see, you know, a woman pregnant competing? I mean, that's so awesome. You know, you have such a love for the passion, you know, and passion for the sport. The fact that you'll do it pregnant as well. You know, Lauren Weeks, when she did it at the High Rocks World Championships a couple years ago, was one of the most motivating things I've ever seen. So, and the fact that she was able to power through it. And I think Rachel Funkhauser, if I pronounce that name right, also was pregnant at the time. So Bridget doing this is very motivating for all the women out there, showcasing that, hey, just because you're pregnant, you can still move. You can still do your best, you know? And she's going to do this. She's going to give it everything she's got.
Yeah, Lauren's setting a great example of both, you know, competing at that time, having a strong performance, and then, you know, coming back quickly as well. Obviously, not everyone sort of, you know, goes through the process in the same way, but, you know, Lauren making a great example for some other athletes, and we see Bridget towing the line here today as well.
Absolutely. What is the 20th time for the females for a world championship by chance?
Right now, it's actually Michelle Navarro right in second place here with a 38.28. So if she can hang with Tara, there's a good opportunity to cut a lot out of that time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think she knows this as well, so she'll be pushing it today.
Seems like Tara made up a few seconds on the row, but Michelle out comfortably in second place.
There goes Karen in
Here comes
third.
Karen Guidry still in third.
And there's Janelle Teal in fourth right there.
And Julie Best comes out in fifth.
Yeah.
So similar times on the row are only about a 10-second lead, or a 7-second lead, I should say, for Tara Jackson coming out of this station. So Michelle, maybe seeing her get away a little bit, but if she can keep Tara in sight, that might help pull Michelle to a faster time and move her up in those standings.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't seem like, as far as the functional fitness standpoint, that Tara is dominating, I guess you could say, but it's still very early in the race. She could be playing very conservative, knowing that she pretty much solidified a time back in Knoxville DEKA race to confirm her top 20 spot. She could be coming for the win today, and in hopes just to add more accolades to the shelf.
And that's sort of like what we saw in the men's race, where it was a little bit closer, and then they got to the assault bike, and Colin said, all right, now it's time to win the race. Tara maybe has a bit more of a lead now, but that potentially could be a situation as well where she doesn't go absolute max capacity on the row or the skier, knowing that there's opportunities later on to use her experience and break the field open if she needs to, because Tara knows, she doesn't have time at this point. There's no way that her 34.04 is not going to qualify. So she can, however she approaches this race, clearly she's pulled herself comfortably into first place here on station number 3. But if she needs to, win the race later on, she may have the opportunity to do so, on the bike or another station.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a on switch with Tara, and it's just a matter of time when she's going to flip that switch. And when she does, it's time to light the fire and kick the tires. So she definitely knows what she's doing.
But Michelle's still hanging in there. She's about halfway through these box step overs in second place there in the all white. Karen Guidry, gray top, pink shorts has come in, and now
it's motivating in most cases in competitions. Michelle, who I believe in the last race that we commentated, was battling more for the 5th, 6th place, just given because the field was just a little bit more in depth or dense with their experience. But it's motivating when you find yourself that you're in second. You find this gear in you that you're like, okay, I could do this. Tara's only a few seconds ahead of me. I could do this. I could keep up with her, and she's going to run a much faster time today for it.
And once again, Michelle a little bit faster than Tara or comparable on the station. So 2 seconds faster on these step overs, about 5 seconds down coming out of the station. So this is very much, it's very much a race. Michelle is hanging in there and able, if she can keep Tara in sight, it's really going to help her out. We've got a great battle looming for those 3 through 5 positions as well. So Michelle's opened up about a 30-second lead on third place, but Karen and Janelle with exact matching 10-10 splits, and then Julie Best at 10-21 coming out of station 3. So we could have a very exciting race as this unfolds with a podium position on the line.
Yeah, Karen's making this a very interesting race as well, too, because I would say out of the top 3 or 4 ladies, I don't think Janelle has a DEKA FIT time. She has the slower of the time. So she is pushing the pace to try to compete for that podium spot, knowing Michelle probably knows, of course, she's breathing down her neck coming around the corners after each station.
Yeah, coming in for context, Tara Jackson a 34.04 this year, a 32.44 is her top time overall. Michelle Navarro 37.12 best time, a little bit slower than that, I believe, this season. And then Julie Best a 37.59, Karen Guidry a 38.36. So relatively close spread between those 3 athletes, but definitely a gap between them and Tara. However, if they're able to hang with Tara, as we've been saying, that type of performance could help pull them to a faster time, as Michelle still about 5 or 6 seconds down, and she's exactly that right now.
Yeah, they are well versed right now, Michelle and Karen, depending on, of course, when she comes in, to have a significant PR today, as long as they keep feeding off this Tara energy that they're giving.
This is zone 4 of 10, 20 reps of the med ball sit-up throw. Again, this is not necessarily one of the more challenging stations, but it does get your core working right before the ski erg that also does that. So, you know, in a sense, DEKA can be a bit of a death by 1,000 cuts, where even if one station in and of itself isn't that taxing, then, you know, it could still play a factor later on. And you see 3 through 5. So Karen, Janelle, and Julie all come in pretty much together, as now Tara comes out in first place.
Oh, this is going to be fun. This is good. They're making it a race. This is good. Let's see if Karen can hold on. I think Julie, when it comes to the functional fitness standpoint, is slightly slower than most, but she is a very strong runner. So I believe she's making up most of her time on the runs compared to Janelle and Karen, who I believe are just slightly stronger.
Julie was about 11 seconds down after the last station and made up pretty much all of that time on the run to that point. So again, Michelle slightly faster than Tara on the stations, and 6 seconds down after station number 4.
Wow, Michelle's doing great right now. This is awesome. This is her time to shine. She knows it. She's getting, limelight time. I mean, she knows we're commentating, talk about her being in second place. That she knows she's got to perform, and she's doing it, and she's hanging on right now. Still a lot of the race to go, and let's see what she could do. Let's see if she can make some ground on Tara on these runs.
There's Tara just a few seconds ago. You know, bang, 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 3, 4, 5. It was Janelle, Julie, and Karen all coming out together.
Yeah, Janelle Teal's not a name we talk about, of course. And the only reason why I'm familiar with this name is because I was watching the High Rocks New York live feed, and she had, fans upon fans asking to say, go Janelle, or talk to Janelle, follow Janelle, you know? So she has a very large following. So I imagine, being home-based here in North Carolina, they're all there yelling at her too. So that's got to be motivating for her.
Let's go, ladies. Great job. Great job.
And that 3 through 5 pack is all running together. Janelle, Julie, and Karen. As here comes Tara Jackson. Hasn't quite lapped them yet. That may be coming at some point. We're at about the halfway mark of this race, with Tara getting on the ski erg. And once again, about 5,
Michelle.
6, 7 seconds back, there's Michelle Navarro.
Wow, Michelle knows this might be her last go, to solidify herself for the World Championship. She might not be able to compete in the next 2 races. So she's putting on a showcase right now, being right there with Tara. I mean, what better way to feed off than the world champ herself, right? So, and there, but Tara still knows what she's doing. She knows where Michelle's at. She knows, these type of caliber athletes, they're well aware of their awareness, for sure.
Can you hang with the best and best at DEKA? The next DEKA Series race is August 26th in Pennsylvania. DEKA FIT Northeast. Sign up today at DEKA.fit and watch the action live only on the OCR Report.
A name I'm not surprised to see, or I guess we haven't seen her, is Lori Winkleman.
I believe on some of the splits, she was down in about 7th place or so. So right now, behind that 3, 4, 5 pack. The next time the leaderboard comes up, we can check that out and see where she's at.
For sure, because as far as on paper, she's the second fastest female coming in, given that Bridget hasn't ran a race this year. So I'm surprised to see the drop-off. Maybe she has an injury she's dealing with at the moment, or maybe sick as well too. We're not sure, Wow, look at that synchronization. That is awesome. You want to talk about, maybe I'll give them a 10 for Olympic standpoint right there. So, but these are 2 powerhouse athletes right here. I can tell Janelle is probably just as strong given the body type as Tara as well.
Yeah, really making the most of that technique as Tara comes out. So we're at the halfway mark of this race. Tara comes out at about 16:30. She'll make her way into run number 6. There's a look at Michelle Navarro. Trying to push through these last few meters. Looks like Tara's opened up a bit more of a gap now.
For sure. I believe on the machines, that strength element is going to come into a factor. She's just slightly more powerful than Michelle. So that's where that gap is going to happen, but not much of a gap. And Michelle has proven herself on these runs to keep up. So I'll be interested to see if she makes up this room on this next run.
And looking at the leaderboard there, Luke, you mentioned Lori Winkleman about 20 seconds behind that pack of 3. So she's finding herself in a similar position to where we saw Joshua Gonzalez in that last race, where you're a little bit behind, kind of all alone. And that can be tough when you don't really have anyone to pace off, because on the run, they're really on the other side of the arena and they're coming into the stations well ahead of you. But we'll see if she can make up some time, or maybe one of these other 3 athletes in that 3 to 5 pack. If someone cracks, then maybe Lori can jump up into the top 5.
Yeah, I didn't mention this actually. We talk about when someone's maybe not performing at a time that we think would be contenders. We think we're sick or injured. She very well could be a second half racer. She could be playing very conservative. Only being 20 seconds. 20 seconds can be a lot, and then in some cases it cannot. So she very well could be a second half racer. So maybe look at that name to scoot on up onto the leaderboard here as the race continues.
Yeah, some great performances there on the skier. Janelle, Julie, and Lori all with a 2:15. Tara with a 2:12. So Tara was able to open up a bit more on Michelle on that station, but some of the other athletes may be closing the gap on their own as well.
Absolutely. You can see where the people that are very experienced on the skier definitely shine on that as far as technique is concerned.
And Lori goes from 21 seconds behind Karen to now 9 seconds. And we talked about a 20-second gap. There's 20-second gap pre and post assault bike can be a different thing, especially in this race. So a lot is going to change in this top 6 or 7 after the Farmers Carry when we get to the bike coming up.
Yeah, this, I believe, third through 6 is really going to switch up here on the assault bike, like you mentioned.
Let's go.
There's Michelle Navarro as Tara Jackson in the lead finishes up. She'll head out on run number 7, splitting her watch, getting a sense of where she's at. Michelle Navarro right now all alone in the Farmers Carry. Again, she maybe sees Tara getting away from her a little bit, but in the back of her mind could also know that, hey, if I've hung with her this long, I'm putting myself in a good position from a time standpoint. So Michelle, just a couple more turns, she'll be out of the Farmers Carry and on to run number 7 on her own.
Yeah, if I was Tara in this position, I would know if I feel like I am the stronger athlete as far as power output on the machines, I would really make this next run very fast to solidify it and then hammer the bike and just really push away from Michelle, make her overwork for her position, and then that's just solidify her first place spot today.
Julie Best came into this about 2 seconds ahead of Janelle Teal. You see Julie in the black top, Janelle in the white top. They are neck and neck fighting for that number 3 spot with Karen Guidry just a little bit behind them, and I think that's Lori coming in behind her. So our
look at the move on Janelle.
Are all on the Farmers Carry at the same time as Janelle Teal, a decisive move to get into 3rd place. She'll put it down, head out on the run, and now they're heading toward the game-changing station here in this race. We've got a tight pack, at least 3 and 4, with now our 5th place athlete finishing up. But, given the time domain of the assault bike, Karen could potentially pull herself into a better position with a strong bike as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is...
Yeah, 4 seconds faster on the Farmers Carry for Janelle compared to anyone else in the field. 7 seconds faster than both Michelle and Julie. So a bit of a move there made, as now Tara clearly in 1st place, Michelle still relatively comfortably in 2nd, but behind her, if Janelle Teal is charging, you never know. She could make up a whole bunch of time on Michelle here on this bike.
I think Janelle just pretty much told everybody, I'm the powerhouse today, and I'm here to shine, right? So she clearly had the faster farmer carry. Having Julie right in front of her obviously made her perform it just a little bit faster than most. And then making that move, you know, she was a little quick with the steps on it. So this is great. I'm excited to see how she performs on the assault bike.
25 calories on the assault bike. Tara Jackson, our race leader, is on the bike. You see in the inset screen in the bottom right, Michelle Navarro in second place, finishing up her run. She'll be heading to the bike here momentarily, still with a lead over third place, but as we've been talking about, Janelle Teal is charging. Here comes Michelle Navarro. So she'll hop in just after 22 minutes. Tara making her way through the station as well. We had seen Julie Best make up time on the runs, with Janelle then moving past her on the farmer's carry. So interesting to see, you know, has Julie pulled herself back on this run? Is Janelle now kind of flipping the switch and, you know, kind of ramping it up to an 8 of a 9 out of 10? We'll see.
Tara's keeping an eye on Michelle right now to make sure to see what type of power output she's performing over there. It's going to motivate her to move just slightly faster.
And here comes Janelle behind Julie. So that's what happened. Julie, again, made up a bit of time on the run. So you see her there, blue shorts, black top to the right of Tara Jackson. And then on the far left is Janelle Teal coming in fourth place. The question is, who's going to leave in third place? Because we saw Janelle on some of these more power-based stations really set the tone.
Oh, wow.
So
look at these
goes
group
Tara
of ladies.
Jackson. Tara out in first place, but now there's a lot to go here because you can tell, you know, it's hard to tell exactly how much power is being pushed out because everyone's got a slightly different technique, but clearly Janelle is comfortable on this station. Michelle there in the front of your picture. Second and third you can see on the screen right now.
Yeah, you never know at this race whether one is fatigued or not. It's not like we can just ask them right now, of course, right? So, and given that we can't really have the screen side by side, it's hard to just determine. But it looks like Michelle's giving it everything she's got to give herself that second place position still, knowing that Janelle and Julie and Karen and Lori are all right next to her right now. This is great movements for places 3 through 6 right now.
Pretty much every bike is full right now, and you can see that Karen Gidger on the far right kind of taking a break, kind of resting her arms, and then getting up out of the seat on her feet. So she's trying to mix it up. There goes Michelle Navarro. So still in second place, actually about to be lapped by Tara.
Tara, yeah. Yep.
A 156 on the bike for Tara, so just extending that gap. And we mentioned, you know, her having the ability to potentially flip a switch at any point, and she did that a little bit there, maybe just to let everyone know, all right, yeah, this race is over, but there's still plenty to play for us. Now Michelle, with a relatively strong bike as well, she's still going to have a comfortable, you know, hold on that second place position with every other athlete still on the bike.
Very true, yeah. And given that she's performing obviously at a much higher rate than she's used to, given that she's going to probably PR today, you know, you wonder if maybe that assault bike, maybe she pushed it too much, whether she smoked herself for these remaining 3 stations. But I think she's still going to feed off this energy knowing that, hey, this is my chance and this is my podium today.
And a bit of a move actually made by Julie Best.
You know.
She comes out of the bike several seconds ahead of both Lori, who's pulled herself into fourth,
wow,
and then Janelle Teal in fifth. So, you know, you asked about 5 minutes ago, or, you know, 5 to 10 minutes ago, where was Lori Winkleman? Well, maybe she is a second half racer because she's suddenly pulled herself into fourth place with a 2:03 bike, second fastest, more than 10 seconds faster than everyone in the field not named Tara Jackson.
Yeah, she made a move right there, and she knew going into that bike that's where she had to make the move. Prepare to see that name here in the last remaining for that third spot finish, maybe potentially second. We don't know yet. So. They're making these look pretty easy.
Looks like Michelle about 50 seconds ahead of Lori, but you never know. If that 2:15 bike took more out of Michelle than we maybe know yet, Lori could potentially pull herself even farther up the field. And yeah, you see there now Lori officially in third place as the timing gets processed, about 4 seconds ahead of Julie.
Yeah, because if you think about it, even after the assault bike, you still have a mile left to run. And not just any standard mile, but 500 meters, which of course, you got ladies lapping at this point or being around, so they're much faster than usual. So you're running much faster than probably your mile PR, or 5K, excuse me, 5K PR. So it's obviously very exhausting. But Michelle, again, I'm using this word quite often today, experienced, and I think she's a very decent runner, so she knows how to run compromise as well.
Michelle still all alone there in second place, trying to work through as many of these dead ball overs as she can before anyone else comes in. But we've got a very exciting battle for that third podium spot coming up here. We've seen Lori Winkleman pull herself not from out of nowhere, but from farther back in the pack. She was sitting in sixth place. There was a pack of 3 through 5 for maybe the
there she is in third place
of this race, and she wasn't in it. And now she's in third place with Julie Best right behind her.
Wow, man, she made up for it on that run too. Wow. Yeah, she is a
Lori
second half racer
with black tights, and then Julie Best in the foreground, black top and blue shorts. That's your third and fourth place right now.
Julie and Lori could really feed off each other right now to catch Michelle, because Michelle's just kind of running in her own little island right now in second place. They very well could feed off each other, and anything can happen.
And it's interesting to be interested to see what both Janelle and Karen have left as well. The bike, took a little bit out of them as they fell a bit more behind, but maybe if they were saving a little bit for these last couple of stations, we'll see. 3 through 6 right now, all on this station at the same time. And based on these splits, Michelle is still putting her foot down as Julie and Lori come out together in third and fourth. Even though Michelle is on her own, she's still keeping up the intensity. Again, a very similar zone time compared to Tara and the rest of the field. Now, the dead ball isn't somewhere where there's necessarily a lot of separation, but even though she's all alone, that experience that Michelle has is coming through. You see that she's now on lap number 2 as Tara's already on the tank push, and then the athletes behind Michelle are pretty much a lap behind her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very obvious that Michelle definitely has the caliber to stay with, let's say, Tara or Lauren as far as functional fitness, even maybe on the running splits if we had running splits as well. But it's very obvious the machines is where she just needs the most work at, the skier, the rower, because that's where the biggest gaps were formed, the assault bike. Once she figures that out, though, she can be a true contender at World Championship.
Tara Jackson making her way through these 5 down and back tank push and pulls.
She's making this look easy as usual. Tara's very strong.
Our top 5 all had very similar times on the dead ball overs. Here comes Michelle.
Grabbing a men's tank. That would have been fun to watch.
Absolutely. That's the kind of thing that maybe won't affect her race, but in a more championship type scenario with more depth at the top of the field, little mistakes like that, you definitely want to clean up. But I'm sure she could have pushed it. Also, I'm sure she's glad to not have the men's weight to push here.
That's very true. Definitely this far into the race. Absolutely. I'm sure she's appreciating that. Still looking solid. I think she's going to have about a 2-minute PR today, given, of course, how she pushes and pulls this tank. I think she's looking at about a 2-minute PR today, which is huge. I mean, that's massive.
So Tara's out. She's got 3 minutes left here.
Tara's got a big lead.
Her time coming in 34:04. So Tara's got an opportunity, depending on how hard she can hammer these burpees, to really throw something down and maybe put Lauren Weeks on notice.
That is very true, actually. I guess we really haven't discussed that as much as if maybe Tara might PR today. Depending on how these burpees go, because you know her runs are going to be pretty solid. She very well might PR today.
Two through five, all in the tank pushable at the same time. Michelle Navarro there pulling back. She's definitely still got a fairly comfortable lead in second place, but with the burpees still to come, there's a lot to play for with these next few spots. You see Lori there in the black tights, Julie Best to her left pulling it back, Karen Guidry as well in the pink shorts. So the four athletes right now all on this station at the same time. And in just a minute or so, we'll get a look on Tara Jackson as she makes her way into the burpees. Again, 34:04 is her time this season. So Tara's PR of 32:44. That's not in the cards today, but she has an opportunity to potentially jump ahead of Lauren Weeks depending on how fast these burpees go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I wonder if she's aware of that as well too. I noticed her boyfriend is there filming her at the assault bike, so I wonder if he's, of course, yelling at her time-wise where she's at. Yeah, it looks like Michelle, of course, maybe not going as fast on the tank as the other ladies. Could be gassing out right now, or just maybe just the tank just isn't her strongest station. But Janelle is looking super smooth on this tank. I mean, that's nothing. You might as well just give her the men's tank on that to make it fair. This should be Michelle's last one.
Yeah, you can see based on the facial expression, Michelle's working hard right now, but now she knows that she's done and has an opportunity, you mentioned, for a solid PR, 37:12 coming in. So she's got about 4 minutes until that time. So 37:12 PR, and her time this year is all the way down at 38:28. So she's definitely going to jump way up in the standings here in the 2023 season as we get a look at,
You're on pace for
again,
a PR.
our second-place athlete, Michelle Navarro, on her final run of the race. Tara Jackson is presumably most of the way through her burpees right now.
Yeah, Tara. What's Tara's time again? 34:09?
34:04 is her time this season.
Okay.
So right on that about, not exactly sure where she's at. We'll get a look at her time. And wow, 3, 4, and 5 all out together.
Wow.
So Janelle has
Karen,
actually 4, 5, and 6.
Man, Karen came in there a good amount of time behind, and look at that gain that she just had on everybody. Wow. She really hustled on the tank. Very impressive. So Tara is finished. 34:22. Okay, so not the fastest time today, but that's okay.
Still the second fastest athlete, third fastest time of the season, and she's got the second and third fastest time. So she ran a 34:04. Calypso Sheridan, 34:31, is the third fastest athlete. So there's our race winner, Tara Jackson. And now we've got Michelle Navarro with about a 15-second lead on third place. But Lori Winkleman is charging. She's all pulled herself to within 13 seconds of Michelle Navarro.
Yep, and then there's Karen making a move as well. This is exciting. This is going to come down to the burpees. This is going to be fun to watch. And I wonder if Michelle's aware of this as well. I mean, because she looked pretty tired after the tank. I don't know how the burpees might go.
And this group of Janelle Teal, Julie Best, and Karen Guidry have really, not necessarily worked together, but effectively worked together for the entirety of this race. As here comes Michelle Navarro into the burpees.
On your left. Thank you.
She's going to have to go. Oh, there's
And
Lori.
Lori Winkleman
wow.
just about 5 seconds behind her. So second place, it's on right now, depending on who's got more left for these burpees. You got Michelle Navarro in the foreground, Lori Winkleman in the background, with 4, 5, and 6 coming in right behind them.
Oh, man. Oh, this is exciting. Michelle's going to have to go. She's going to have to sell her soul. She's about, I think, a rep or two ahead of Lori right now. But Lori's moving. And here comes the group of ladies.
Let's go.
Julie Best in third, Karen Guidry in, or I should say, Julie Best in fourth, Karen Guidry in fifth, And Janelle Teal almost tripping over Karen into 6th.
Almost took her out. That's one way to take out your competition. Wow, look at this. You really don't see this many females at one time in the burpee pit. This is great. This is exciting stuff. Oh, Lori's moving. Wow, Lori's second place.
And there's Lori Winkleman in second place, pretty close to her top time this season. Working her way up through the field, was in 6th place at about the halfway mark, all the way into second place with a 110 set of burpees. Impressive stuff from Lori Winkleman. As now Michelle Navarro, she'll finish with a PR, 37:12 coming in. She improves her time by over a minute, and I believe pulls herself, depending on the official split, Michelle with a 37:04. If that holds, she's pulled herself from 20th all the way up to 11th in the standings this season.
Yeah, that's huge. Great job, Michelle. That was very impressive. She just got, you could tell fatigue definitely kicked in at that tank because she had one of the slower tank times. And there's Janelle taking 4th. Wow, great showing for Janelle for first race. And Karen taking 5th.
And about a 37:40 from Karen. These are all top 20 times. Julie comes in at 37:45. So we mentioned earlier on that Michelle Navarro herself, she had the 20th time at 38:28. So our top 6 athletes, 3 of them were already in the top 20, and then 3 athletes coming, or Julie was also already in the top 20 but improved her time. So we had 4 athletes in the top 20, all above that benchmark here. Karen and Janelle get on the board well inside the top 20 as well. Great racing, and we talked about it. It maybe didn't play exactly how we thought in the men's race, but on the women's side, the burpees made the difference as Lori Winkleman passes Michelle Navarro, who had been in second place for almost the entire race, comes charging back, gets in second place. Michelle Navarro hangs off for 3rd, and that 4, 5, 6 group all finishes within 10 seconds of each other.
Wow. Yeah, what a great performance from the females. They crushed it. They all had qualifying times today. Top 6, that is. They absolutely destroyed it, and they fed off each other, of course. See, when you have that much group together, you feed off that energy, and it just pushes you into that gear that you're just not that you're not comfortable in, of course. And they were able to be uncomfortable for a few minutes just to get that qualifying time. So very impressive from all the ladies today.
And Janelle, who had lost a little bit of time on the air bike, comes back with a 118 set of burpees, and that made the difference for 4th place. You see right there, 118 with Karen at 126, and Julie, it looked like at 131. So just impressive from the entire field. You got Tara again, really not challenged at all in this race, even though a few athletes were with her. She led wire to wire, but still came within 20 seconds of her top time without being pushed. That's impressive. Lori charging from behind, Michelle hanging on, that 4, 5, 6 group, just all around outstanding performances. And how about Bridget Brown? Sub 40 today.
It was so fun chasing you.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. That should motivate all the women out there today. So that was, other than Tara Jackson winning and Colin winning today, I would say Bridget Brown's performance outshines them all, just for the circumstances.
Yeah, so ultimately in these races, as the last few women in this lead heat finish up, we ended up maybe not getting as much competition as we thought on the men's side. Marcus Wallace on the start list, but didn't end up competing today. So Colin Stiefer able to make his move, but we saw some impressive stuff. We saw Joseph Cotto, without a time on the board, come in, hang on, get that second place on the men's side, and as we just witnessed, Lori Winkleman on the women's side. So, Luke, this is an interesting situation because, we're about a little over midway through the season, but there's going to be opportunities for really all these athletes to put in a solid training block ahead of the next race that's more than 2 months away.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be surprised. I would assume most East Coast individuals will also show up to the next DEKA race given up there in August. So I'm sure we'll see these faces again. If not, the women solidify their times, but it's crunch time at this point in the season. There's 2 more race series left 2 more races left. So you know that anybody can qualify in any race. And we can see some new faces in August as well.
Yeah, as you just alluded to, the majority of the field here today were, more East Coast based, and the next race is in Pennsylvania, the last race of the series in Orlando. And I think we expect to see some of the heavy hitters maybe coming down from High Rocks to take on that Orlando race that'll put themselves in the mix, with maybe one time. But yeah, a lot of these athletes who made some noise today, we'll probably see them at one of those next 2 races. There's nice separation, right? You've got about 8 weeks until Pennsylvania, and then a few weeks after that was Orlando, and then another couple of months for World Championships. So kind of the way the season now is segmented is great for these athletes to really, put it together, build on some strong performances today, and be ready to roll later on. We'll take a look now at our top 10 standings. I believe we'll have those pulled up on the screen here momentarily, as looked like that might have been the top 10 from one of the previous races. We should have that. And here it is. So Colin Stiefer, 30:46. Joseph Cotto hanging on. Look at that 5K time for Joseph, a 17:48.
Wow. Yeah,
as
he's a runner.
He threw down. Yeah, he is a runner. He's made some noise on the Savage Race series so far this year, and comes into the hybrid space in DEKA FIT and throws down. Joe, a strong performance, and Joshua Gonzalez staying on. He, again, we mentioned, was sort of in no man's land for the entire race, and hangs on with a solid 4th place, and down the field we go. But yeah, those top 3. I mean, Colin, I think, Luke, would you say, did what we expected him to do today? But then Joseph Cotto is really the surprise of this field, coming in without a time on the board and establishing himself with a solid 2nd place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Colin, like you mentioned, did exactly what he planned to do. I think he knew coming into this race, probably seeing names or mentioning out to people, that 1st place was definitely up for grabs today. And like I said, coming off of the High Rocks World Championships, he could be in peak fitness right now, or at least gearing, because, he ran slightly faster. So he's looking to push it. He very well, at the World Championships, could go sub 30, which is, of course, what I expected times to be at the World Championships. So Colin is a guy to look out for too. I think we got Rich Ryan Lynchdig, Ryan Kent. We got all the R names, but prepare for the C name to roll up at the World Championships in December.
Colin came in with the 7th fastest time this year at a 31:55, and then just casually took more than a minute off that time today. So yeah, he's someone that huge. Again, has succeeded at High Rocks, both as an individual and on a team. And yeah, he'll be ready to roll it and stick his nose in it when those R names come in. And now here's the women's top 10. Tara Jackson, the class of the field for sure. We expected her to perform very well coming in. She did just that. The 3rd fastest time run this season, even though it's her 2nd fastest time. And then Lori Winkleman charging from 6th place up into 2nd, just closing it down in the 2nd half of the race and getting it done. Michelle Navarro, a great job hanging on, right? She kind of went out with Tara, was at about the halfway mark, only about 10 seconds down. She fell off a little bit toward the end, but pulled herself to, her fastest time this year by almost 2 minutes, and an 8-second PR as well compared to last year. And then how about that 4, 5, 6 group? Janelle, Karen, and Julie running together most of the race, really exchanging positions. We saw a couple of times Julie Best make up time on the run, Janelle Teal on some of the stations, and that made the difference on those burpees as Janelle pulls herself into 4th place with a very strong burpee performance to finish 8 seconds ahead of Karen and 13 ahead of Julie. But again, those top 6 times are all well within the top 20 qualification spots for the DEKA FIT Championship. So incredible depth here in the women's field today, and just a great race overall.
Absolutely. Yeah. The best thing that this race offered today, other than the typical winners, and they shined when they were supposed to, was all these new faces. So they are new people to the sport, and they are here to stay, it seems like, and they're going to solidify themselves even further. I expect to see them probably in Pennsylvania. And then I would assume we're going to see the masses show up in Orlando, given that that's the last qualifying race. So this was a very great showing for the new people today. And that always makes the sport more exciting because obviously it's invited to everybody.
So a very exciting morning today as the newest member of Team Halterman making an appearance here on the broadcast. Wouldn't want to end the broadcast without congratulating my broadcast partner Luke on the birth of his fourth child there, as we've got a new member of the OCR Report crew here. So Cameron James making his debut, maybe the earliest DEKA Fit broadcast debut that anyone's ever had. But anyway, that'll wrap things up for us today. Just a phenomenal morning of action from DEKA Fit Carolina. Again, this was race number 5 in the series. We'll have some more exciting action to go with Pennsylvania and Orlando coming up. So this live race coverage of the 2023 DEKA Series has been a presentation of DEKA and the OCR Report. Thank you for watching, and a special shout out to Yancey Culp and the team at DEKA Fit. You can find race results for today's race at the OCR Report Instagram at the OCR Report. Be sure to subscribe to the OCR Report YouTube channel, as you can support live streams like this one for less than $5 a month by becoming a member of the OCR Report through Patreon. Sign up today and support the sport that we love. For Luke Halterman, Jason behind the scenes, and our rabbits, Dave, Amelia, Megan, and Brendan, I am Xander Kane. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on August 26th for DEKA Northeast.